My name is Yashwanth Jhabakh and I am from Mahavir Motors, Hyderabad, and I have the next 17 minutes of my life which I am going to be sharing with all of you. The power of imagination. TED. Technology, entertainment, design. These fields are embedded in the imaginative ingenuity of mankind. Can I make a request to all of you to please stand up? Put your left hand up, shake it. Put your right hand up, shake it. Sit down. What just happened? All of you just followed me blindly. None of you thought. This is what is happening in today's world. We have stopped thinking, we have stopped imagining. We just follow somebody who's done something and somebody who gives us instructions. Is that what we are in for? Imagination is the power to experience a whole world inside our mind. Imagination precedes reality. Imagination frees imprisoned possibilities. Creativity is imagination in action. I want people to just look around. Look around. There are so many things which we are able to see around, which we have accepted as normal. The walls, the chairs in which you are sitting, the roof, the acoustics, the projection system. All these are present here today because somebody thought beyond what is normal. Somebody used their imagination. Somebody wanted to do something which is different, not which is run of the mill. Today, the topic for us is imagination. Creativity through imagination is what I would like to dwell on. In your childhood, how many of you have played with G.I. Joe or Barbie? I'm sure a lot of you. Today, for us, at this point of time in my life, what is a G.I. Joe or a Barbie? It's just something to give a child in his hand or her hand to make sure that they do not disturb her. But if you look at the child, what does the child see with a Barbie or a G.I. Joe? A whole world of opportunities. The child has imagination. The child can think. The child thinks that, okay, the Barbie, I can use it as a doll, I can cook with it, I can play with it. There are so many things which the child is able to think with the Barbie. The same thing with the G.I. Joe. What is it? A soldier. It's got a weapon. It's got its own automobile. You can think the world, but that's because the child is still able to think. Most of us over here have stopped thinking. We just follow a regular routine. We follow something which somebody else has done. What's going to do that to your real life? You're just going to become mundane. You're just going to become one more human being. You're just going to follow somebody else who set a path, who set an objective. Because you don't have an objective of your own. You're not thinking beyond what you're supposed to be thinking. You are happy with what you have got and you are not willing to explore. What happens? You just become redundant. Today, when I came in over here, I was in for a surprise. They told me that I'm not supposed to move out of this. Now this, for me, has become an imaginative wall. I have to work around this. But these are the resources which I have today. I cannot walk up there because I may not be covered by maybe audio, maybe video, whatever. So what do? I work around whatever I have got. I work with whatever resources I have got and try and create the best possible use of whatever I have. Nature has a form. Imagination is fluid. I just would like to elaborate on this one. Nature has already been predefined. You cannot change. Sun rises, sun sets, that's where the trees are going. This is what's happening in life. You cannot do anything about it. But your imagination is fluid. Imagination can create. Imagination can change. Imagination can make our life better. If whatever we are enjoying today is because somebody went out of the comfort zone, decided to think desire to imagine what could happen, what should happen, what is possible, and goes for it. A very, very simple example is nature has decided that we cannot fly. As human beings, we cannot fly. What did the Wright brothers do? They said, if you cannot fly, let's make a vehicle which can make us fly. Now this is beyond thinking. The nature has given us a limitation that we cannot fly. Our imagination is the one which has helped us make a vehicle from which we could fly. Now this is something which is a very, very simple example. I'm sure many of you would have always heard about it. And so this is what I'm trying to say, is imagination is something which is making our life better. If you go back to life, if you go back in years, initially when we had an imagination, how would you transmit it? You would transmit it by maybe actions. After some time, how did you start transmitting it? You would transmit it by maybe sketch. After some time in life, how did you start transmitting it? You would have transmitted by speech. The transmission continued in various methodologies, but what remained is the imagination of the way it is to be transmitted. It kept on evolving. So friends, imagination is something which you are supposed to keep playing on. Do not let your imagination die, because if you want to be something in life, your imagination and your creativity together is what is going to get you to the next level in your life. Evolution of ideas is because of imagination. There was a CEO from a very, very renowned bank who said that 94,000 of his employees are going to become redundant because of the technology changes. What happens to people then? Do they get worried? I don't think they should get worried, because that is a very great opportunity for them, that what they were doing as redundant human beings is now being taken over by robots. So what's going to happen? They have space, they have time, they have opportunity to think better, and then maybe for the bank, help them sell so many other activities, and in that also improve the economy and also improve their mindset. Imagination is a good servant and a bad master. When I talk about imagination is a good servant, what I would like to say is that the world is at your feet for imagination. You can imagine whatever you want. I take a very, very simple example of Britain. Britain was is one of the smallest nations in the world. There were leaders in Britain who decided, who imagined that they would conquer the world. What did they imagine? They would conquer the world. What did they do? They set the circle of influence around them. They made the people around them start thinking that they are capable of controlling the world. So from what happened, from a very small community where this idea originated, they went to a larger community, they went to a large community even further, they went to the entire country, they went to many nations. What did they do? They conquered most of the world, and they were able to prove to people that if you have something in your mind which is actually a very, very crazy imagination and which is different from what everybody else can think, you can make it work. Only those people are successful who think differently. If you want to do something in your life, please don't do something which somebody else has already been done. You are one of the 8 billion people in the world. And mind you, none of these 8 billion people think alike. Each one of you thinks differently. Each one of you has different imaginations. How best are you going to use your imagination is your lookout. If you have got something which is creative, please go ahead and do it. Don't worry about what your neighbor is going to be thinking. Because if your neighbor is going to be thinking what you're going to be thinking, then you are not unique. You're unique in your own thoughts. You're unique in your own actions. And if you have to be doing something which is very different, please go ahead and follow your dream. Following your dream is what is going to get you to where you want to be in life. We can solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them, said Albert Einstein. So it said, imagine, create, reimagine. I'm going back to the example which I gave you earlier when the Wright brothers made the plane. What did they do? Their requirement at that point of time was to have something which would take you maybe just for a small flight. Somewhere in life, we realized that that's not enough for us. So we went back to what Wright brothers created. Somebody actually thought further. If we could actually fly this distance, I think we can fly a larger distance. So he went back, he reimagined, he recreated But then there was again somebody who reimagined. He said, if I can actually fly a long distance, why can't I fly with people in it? Why can't I use it for transport? So what I would like to tell you is that we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking used when we created them. So always keep imagining, keep creating, go back, reimagine, recreate, and that's going to be what is evolution. Amitabh Bachchan. Every one of you here knows Amitabh Bachchan. How many of you know that when he came into the movie industry, he was not a successful man? What did he do to himself? He started changing his image. He started working on his image. He was a tall man, horrible voice is what people thought then. He worked on it. He created a niche for himself. He worked around what people would want him to do. He worked around in such a way that if you look at him, he has evolved and he has reimagined himself and as an actor. And today, I would say he is the Badshah of the Indian movie industry. Now I move across and I come to a very personal example over here. I'm here because I have a great friend over here. He happens to be Dr. Vijayendra. He knows my story of life. 1984 is when I moved from Chennai to Hyderabad. I came from a family where my father was a government servant. I decided that I do not want to become an IAS officer. I knew, I imagined, I knew it was not possible for me that I would be able to pass my IAS. So I decided that I will come over here. Started with a very humble beginning. I started with a salesman's job. I did a lot of things like selling STD disconnectors, telephone exchanges, cooking masalas, whatever. But then I had a calling. My calling was that I was very much interested in automotive. So I moved my entire thought process, my entire creativity, my imagination went to what could I do in the automotive industry. I had no money. So I started a very small car rental agency with the small money which I earned as a salesman. With the money which I earned there, I opened this small workshop. From the workshop, I opened a larger workshop and I made it a multi-brand workshop. I made some more money over there. Then what was my next step in life? I went and I said, okay, if I have to reach my goal, I have to use my imagination as to what could I do. Those days, we had something called a recording system which was on a tape. I made a movie about myself as to what I wanted to be 15 years from now. I took it to Tata. Okay, I went to the doorstep of Tata and I showed them my video. And I said, this is what I want to do in life. This is what I want to achieve. So his question was, do you have the money? And I don't have the money, but I know where I want to get to. I have the imagination, I have the creativity, I have the ability, and I'm willing to think out of the box to get to my goal. They gave me the dealership. I was the first authorized workshop in the entire country. Nobody had ever thought of an authorized workshop in the entire country. Friends, what I would like to tell you over here is that there is no end to imagination. If I had restricted myself to the amount of money which I had, I would still be a salesman. Today, I run the Mercedes-Benz dealership. I run the Skoda dealership. I run the Isuzu dealership. But to top it all, today, through my backward integration and the next generation who also share a common belief in what I have been doing, we are now the manufacturers of a motorcycle called Benelli, which we are importing from China and selling all across the country. Friends, imagination, creativity, what is it that you want to do? You want to think out of the box. You want to think of something which somebody else has not done. That's what all of you here are. Do not do something which somebody else has been doing because you're just going to be a follower. Be fearless. Failure is an option. You are unique. Find your calling. Be creative. Maximize the opportunity. In life, very few times do you have reruns. Friends, think and act like a leader, not a follower. If you have an objective, if you have a goal, go for it. There is no point in you just sitting down and doing nothing about it. Be creative, use your imagination, the world will be at your feet. Thank you.